Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and let's talk about these Blackhawks. So, game number 1 is officially in the books. The Hawks took on the Tampa Bay Lightning last night, and as anybody could have predicted, they lost the game. The final score was 5-1. It was looking like Vasilevsky was definitely going to shut out the Hawks, but there was a goal in the final few minutes on the power play, I believe. It was credited to Dylan Strome. He basically just touched it, and it did a whole ping-pong ball type thing and ended up between Vasilevsky's legs. I don't know. Dylan Strome was behind the net. It was weird. It made sense that that was the one goal that the Hawks were able to score yesterday. I saw a lot of people having a lot of very hot takes on the internet. There was a lot of meltdown happening during the game. I don't like seeing the Hawks get scored on, but we all knew that this team was going to be bad, and we knew that Tampa was very good. So this game could have gone a lot worse than it did. That being said, it wasn't great in the slightest. So to talk about last night's game, let's go through the 3 questions I had for game 1. Question number 1. Does tonight mark the beginning of a new era in net for the Blackhawks? So, of course, Malcolm Subban was in net last night. He let in 5 goals. Personally, I wouldn't blame him for any of the 5. Maybe you want him to have the second one back that kind of got lost in his legs a bit and he ended up kicking in himself. Things happen. And when you only have one of your defenders around the net helping you with 2 Tampa Bay guys, I mean, there was going to be a scramble. There was. The puck went in. You gotta move on. The first goal of the game came on the Tampa Bay power play. Subban stopped the first shot, gave a rebound. Ondrej Palat was in front of the net. At first, I thought, how did he even get that puck on his stick? It just magically warped onto his stick and he put it in the net. Thankfully, they have replays, and once they showed the top-down view, it showed that the rebound came out, Palat kicked it to his stick, and passed Subban in the matter of about 0.2 seconds. It was a very good goal from Palat, not much that Subban could do unless he soaked up the initial shot without the rebound, but first game of the season, facing the Tampa Bay power play, you'd assume there's going to be some rebounds, and Palat was there to score a pretty incredible goal because of it. The third goal was just a very good deflection from Anthony Cirelli on the side of the net. The initial shot was taken. He was holding his stick, as you would hope any player would be doing. He held it up at just the right spot, went off the stick, past Subban. Nothing you can do there. The fourth goal of the game was another power play goal for Tampa Bay. Steven Stamkos from the left circle. It's like Ovechkin. You're not going to stop it. The fifth and final goal of the game came from Brayden Point, who was left wide open in the slot. You don't leave Brayden Point open in front of your net. It's going to be a goal 95% of the time. What was Subban going to do about that? So, of course, you never want to see 5 goals go in on your team in one game, but with how all of these goals were scored, you can't hang that on Subban, like I said before, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get the net back on Friday, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see Colin in net. It could really go either way. So does that mark a new era in net for the Blackhawks? No, probably not. If Subban does end up taking the reins and becoming the starting goaltender for the Hawks, I wouldn't point to this game as being the beginning of the new era. Question number 2. Do the Hawks take advantage of the banner raising ceremony? Clearly they didn't, but I blame that one on Tampa Bay because they did not have an actual banner raising ceremony. They are waiting until fans are allowed back into the arena to raise their actual Stanley Cup championship banner. So that one's on Tampa. If they had had an actual ceremony, maybe things would have gone a little bit different. Thank you, Tampa Bay. Question number 3. Who kicks off the scoring this season? Well, like I said before, there was 1 goal in this game. It was credited to Dylan Strome, so there is your first goal of the season from Dylan Strome. I would give it to the Tampa Bay defender on that one, maybe an assist to Vasilevsky, but it's credited to Dylan Strome, so he kicked off the scoring. So clearly with a 5-1 score in a single game, there are a lot of negatives that could be discussed. There were a lot of personal negatives for different players on the team, there were also a lot of positives. Like I said, Subban settled down after the first period and looked really decent to very great with that Save of the Year candidate. That's always good to see when you have unproven goaltenders in net. If he can find that consistency from the second and third period moving forward, he will have a much more successful season. If all of them are like the first period, maybe not. He didn't look terrible. Again, that was mostly just on Tampa being very good. But he was swimming a bit in the crease and looked a bit jittery. So if he can look like he did in the second and third period going forward, that is a big positive for him. Another positive was Nikita Zadorov was our best defender of the night. And if you recall, he was traded to Chicago from the Colorado Avalanche for Brandon Saad and Dennis Gilbert, who I am still very upset to lose because I was a big Gilbert fan. But Nikita Zadorov looked very good last night. There was one play that I can recall off the top of my head where he broke up a pass attempt on an odd man rush. He made it look very effortless. Of course, there is some skill involved in that. And he makes skating look pretty effortless too. He's a big guy, but he doesn't look awkward out there. He just kind of flows around the ice. It's very different to see. I can't wait till we see one of his signature hits for the first time. That will be a lot of fun. So if Nikita Zadorov plays like this going forward, I would say that maybe the Blackhawks win that trade. As I said, I am a big fan of Dennis Gilbert. Brandon Saad is obviously a great player in his own right, and I'm sure he will be very good for the Avs this season. But I like the way Zadorov played, so maybe we win that trade in the end. Ian Mitchell got his first NHL game under his belt, and he wasn't very noticeable out there, which I will say is probably a good thing for a defenseman in a 5-1 loss. I'm not going to go too deep into the negatives on this one. I want to keep this video a little more positive since it's only after the first game of the season. Two guys I will point out that had a very rough game were Dylan Strome, funny enough, since he got the first goal, and Adam Boqvist. Boqvist looked just plain lost out there. He lost his guy on one of the goals. I want to say it was Braden Point's goal. I wasn't impressed with him in the playoffs, and that kind of seeped into yesterday's game as well. Going forward, I need to see a lot more out of him to be impressed. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sent down to Rockford once the AHL starts up in February. I think that would be great for him personally. It seems like he was a little bit rushed into the NHL, and that's fine. He's still a young kid. He has a lot of time to develop. Having these bad games at the beginning of his career in the NHL don't predict that he is going to be a terrible NHL player. He needs time. I think he would do better in Rockford, but they aren't playing yet. They start in February, so he might see some more NHL action before then. We'll just have to see. And Dylan Strome, he is our first line center now that Taves and Doc are out. We have Carl Soderberg coming in eventually once he is able to get through his quarantine since he had some visa issues. We'll see if he takes over the first line center role. But that line of DeBrincat, Kane, and Strome did not look good last night at all. Maybe it's a little harsh picking on the lesser talent of that line and singling him out for having a bad game. It is what it is. That's what happens. The other two didn't have great games either. But I do not want to be too negative. So yesterday's game, not great. They play again tomorrow. They play Tampa Bay again tomorrow. So I have 3 questions for the Blackhawks heading into that game. Question 1. Will the Hawks stay out of the box? Oh my goodness. I know it was the first game of the season. I know we have a lot of new guys. They could not stay out of the box last night. And that is a bad time when you are facing a power play like the Tampa Bay Lightning. They caused themselves a lot of unnecessary stress and kind of made it a shooting gallery for Malcolm Subban, and thank God he held up pretty well for what he was forced to deal with. But I'm sure he doesn't want to do that again tomorrow if he is in net, and I'm sure Delia doesn't want to deal with that either if he is the one in net. So if the Hawks want a chance to split this 2-game series with Tampa Bay, they are going to have to stay out of the box. Will they? Question 2. Will the Blackhawks build off of new power play tactics, or will they fall back into bad habits? One of the team-wide positives yesterday was that the power play looked different. They didn't score on it, I mean, of course, but it did look different. They had at least 2 zone entries that I counted without doing the drop pass, which just filled my head with a lot of happiness. Maybe that is why I'm not too negative about this game, because I have been yelling for the demise of the drop pass for a few years now. We also didn't see the typical setup of Kane on the right wing half wall. He played a lot on the left side, and the players in the zone were doing a pretty good job of moving their bodies around. Tampa Bay also has a good penalty kill, so they couldn't get a whole lot set up, but they did get chances, and I was encouraged, at least from the first game of the season, seeing the power play. That being said, since they didn't score on it, how long will it take before they fall back into bad habits, going back to the drop pass, going back to standing still in the zone? I hope it doesn't start as soon as tomorrow, but we'll just have to see. It is very interesting seeing Brandon Peary back on the ice for the Blackhawks. He's definitely considered somewhat of a power play specialist because he has a very good shot. So he got a few shots off at the net, and if he can start potting those on a regular basis, that is going to be very good for the Hawks. But we'll just have to see what happens, unfortunately. Question 3. Will we see more than one defender around the net while in the defensive zone? Shouldn't this be common sense? If there is more than one Tampa player, why is there only one Blackhawks defender? Not off of an odd man rush. I get that that happens. This happened way too much once Tampa already had established zone time. Of course, they are very good at moving the puck around, very good at passing. They haven't changed their roster a whole lot, so this team has a lot of chemistry already, and that was not sitting well with the Blackhawks defenders last night. We saw way too many times where Subban was just left out to dry. Maybe there was one defender there with him trying to help him out, but it was not a defensively sound game from the Hawks at all, which you can tell by the score 5-1. So in the very least, if they're still going to be bad defensively, which they probably will, I can't see them turning into an elite defensive team overnight. That's just not going to happen. But at the very least, can they match the amount of Tampa Bay players around the net and give Subban a little more help? Like with all of these questions, we will just have to see. So, there you have it. Game number 1 is in the books. We have game number 2 to look forward to tomorrow night against Tampa Bay again. How did you feel about game number 1? Did you think it was a predictor of what this season is going to look like? Did you think it was terrible? Did you take away some positives from it? If you did, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am wearing a brand new jersey today because this just came in, of course, number 50 still, but I just got this one today, so I thought I would switch it up a little bit. Maybe it will bring good karma to this team, and maybe they'll split the series against Tampa. I'm not holding my breath on that one. They're probably going to lose again, but stranger things have happened. I could see them coming out determined to play and to win, and they did look like the better team for a couple minutes there at the beginning of game number 1. That all went downhill very quickly once Tampa scored their first goal, and then they just never recovered. So maybe if they just keep Tampa from scoring, they'll look like the better team throughout the whole game. That would be awesome. Not going to happen. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want more from Center Ice, you can head over to FromCenterIce.com. I'm putting up new articles about the Hawks all the time since so much is going on right now. You can check out the latest episodes of the podcast as well, or they'll be linked at the end of this video here. You can go check out that playlist here on YouTube. Now all we can do is sit and wait and hope for the best tomorrow night. Please don't let it be horrible. That's all I ask. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that subscribe button to catch more From Center Ice content. If you could, hit the like button on this video, maybe share it with a friend or two. And while you're here, check out the podcast playlist and catch up on some old episodes. We will catch y'all next time. Bye!